Alzheimer's disease, or AD, is the most common form of dementia, affecting approximately 5.8 million people in the United States. It's a progressive disorder and gradually worsens over several years, often impacting a person's memory, judgment, language skills, and independence. For Sharon and her husband of almost 50 years, the changes were becoming increasingly evident.
When he was 69, I started to sort of notice a few things, but I didn't really pinpoint it. Anthony, by trade, was an upholsterer and an interior decorator, and so he had clients all over, you know, the city, the boroughs, and he was born and bred in Brooklyn, so that was really his territory. He came home one day and he said, "I can't believe it, I got lost in Brooklyn." Bingo, that was it. He was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. It was about 3 years after Anthony's diagnosis that I noticed things were going downhill. He couldn't comprehend certain things. He would ask me a question, like one of the biggest ones was, "I want to see my money." It became accusatory, you know, like, "Where's my money?" And I said, "Well, you can't see your money," but I brought out the papers where the money was. And I said, "See, here and here and here." He took the papers, he threw them on the floor because he couldn't comprehend what I was saying. Anthony was never brutal to me or anything, but a nasty part of him came out, which I never saw before. One of the biggest things that happened was Anthony got lost. He put himself on a bus to Florida, and when it got to Georgia and they made what I call a pit stop, they realized when they set everybody back on the bus, and he said to them, "What are you talking about? Where am I?" And so from there I was able to get him into a place that I knew about, and with the help of the Alzheimer's Association, friends I had made, my support group, and Anthony was there for 7 years. For me, that was the best thing. You know, my mother-in-law once said to me, "Do what you can now." Because you will live on those memories. And how right she was.
Joining me to shed some light and some hope on what can be a very difficult time is geriatrician Dr. Malcom Fraser. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, Olga.
Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
You know, thinking of Sharon, such a powerful story, such a sad story. It reminds me of former President Ronald Reagan, and I remember hearing his wife, Nancy, say it was a long goodbye.
Unfortunately, Sharon's story and the late President Reagan's story is not that uncommon, and that's a very good one-liner. I can't think of a better way to describe it.
Absolutely. Doctor, I understand Alzheimer's has 3 stages. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct, Olga. And in general, it may be hard to know the difference between age-related changes and the first signs of Alzheimer's disease. A patient may experience any number or all of the symptoms that mark each stage. In the early stage, there may be some mild memory loss and difficulty with concentration. A common symptom may be forgetting people's names. These changes may only be noticed by close friends, relatives, or colleagues. The second stage is the moderate stage. This is often the longest stage. Patients require an increasing level of supervision or care and will typically experience the fastest rate of decline. Common symptoms in the moderate stage include loss of memory and confusion, also continuously repeating stories, and a decreased ability to perform complex tasks. In the third stage, that is the severe stage, a patient may lose the ability to perform daily activities like carrying on a conversation or even being aware of their surroundings. They may not recognize oneself or family, they may not be able to communicate, and may be entirely dependent on their caregiver. It is important to understand that there is an overlap between the stages, and that patients with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, have both good days and bad days. For that reason, determining the stage that a patient is in is not always as straightforward as it could be.
Now, doctor, I understand that there's been evolving research into Alzheimer's. What are the goals of treatments now?
Unfortunately, none of the current therapies are disease modifying. And by that, what we mean is they don't cure the disease or prevent or slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease, and they don't extend the length of time that someone will live. The available treatments can help slow the worsening of symptoms for a while. The available medications are approved for different stages of Alzheimer's disease. Cholinesterase inhibitors, such as donepezil hydrochloride, are thought to work by slowing the breakdown of a chemical in the brain called acetylcholine, which is involved in learning and memory. They are approved to treat the mild, moderate, and severe Alzheimer's disease. Glutamate receptor blockers, such as memantine hydrochloride, they may help regulate the abnormal activity of glutamate, another chemical in the brain that is important for learning and memory. It is approved for moderate to severe Alzheimer's disease. There is some evidence that patients with moderate to severe Alzheimer's who are taking a cholinesterase inhibitor might benefit by also taking memantine. Another treatment option is NAMZARIC. NAMZARIC is approved for moderate to severe Alzheimer's in patients taking 10 milligrams of donepezil daily. NAMZARIC contains two medications, memantine extended release and donepezil in a one-a-day capsule to help fight the symptoms of moderate and severe Alzheimer's disease. In patients with moderate AD taking donepezil 10 milligrams, NAMZARIC may improve cognition, overall function, and may slow down the worsening of symptoms for a while.
When do you suggest NAMZARIC to your patients, doctor?
Many AD caregivers struggle with giving pills to their loved ones. So in patients with moderate to severe Alzheimer's disease that are already taking donepezil hydrochloride 10 milligrams, I recommend NAMZARIC, which combines two proven medications in a one-a-day capsule.
And what safety information should patients be aware of when taking NAMZARIC?
Do not take NAMZARIC if you're allergic to memantine, donepezil, piperidine, or any of the ingredients in NAMZARIC. Before starting treatment, always tell your doctor about any important medical conditions that you may have, including heart, lung, bladder, kidney, or liver problems. Also include information about seizures, stomach ulcers, or any upcoming procedures involving anesthesia. Serious side effects may occur, including muscle problems if given anesthesia with a slow heartbeat or fainting, more stomach acid, which may lead to ulcers and bleeding, nausea, vomiting, difficulty urinating, seizures, and worsening of lung problems. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, dizziness, loss of appetite, and bruising.
Why is it important for caregivers to discuss any changes in symptoms with their doctors?
When the patient with Alzheimer's goes to the doctor's office, the doctor really just gets a snapshot view of how the patient is doing at that moment in time. The caregivers can give the physician a full update as to whatever changes there have been or any developments that have occurred since the previous office visit. We want to get the staging of Alzheimer's as accurate as possible. There are tests which can be done in the physician's office, and the information from the family and caregivers can help put the results of the test in perspective.
Doctor, thank you so much for your time and for all the information today. I truly appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, thanks to growing understanding about Alzheimer's disease, patients and their caregivers can find hope in what the future holds. If you'd like more information on the treatment discussed today, visit NAMZARIC.com or ask your doctor about NAMZARIC. You can also check out our website, thebalancingAct.com.